Even if you're not a parent who has been heading out to school board meetings to make your voice heard, we should all be disturbed by the claim that those actions by parents are the equivalent to acts of domestic terrorism. And we should make sure our local school boards are not siding with the National School Boards Association on this. Already, more than a dozen state level school board associations are distancing themselves from the NSBA's letter, saying they were not consulted about it. And more should be standing up. FRC Action has produced a letter that concerned citizens can use as a template and send it to their local school boards. Meg Kilgannon, FRC Senior Fellow for Education Studies, is here to tell us more about that and what else you can do in the battle over our nation's classrooms. Meg, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
All right, before we get into kind of the action items to wrap up our time together tonight, you were in the Department of Education in the Trump administration, and I want to ask you this. Does this move look like a desperate attempt by the Biden administration to stop the growing opposition to the indoctrination that's taking place in America's classrooms?
It absolutely does. It's a very heavy-handed tactic, and as a person who did serve briefly in government, I can tell you that getting a response, that this kind of a turnaround of sending a letter to the president and days later his attorney general doing your bidding is really quite remarkable. It's obviously orchestrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think this administration that we saw in Afghanistan and elsewhere, they're not that efficient. So clearly this was orchestrated. What questions are posed in the letter to the school boards that you've prepared for FRC Action?
So we wanted to have something that parents could take to the school boards to ask their school board members and their school board body if the National School Boards Association letter represents them. So we have simply the question in the letter, does the board agree with the NSBA that the involvement of federal law enforcement is appropriate? Does this school board agree that parents are the equivalent of domestic terrorists? It gives several questions that the parents would like the school boards to answer. You can send the letter. You could use this in a speech before the school board if you wanted to, but we would love for you to get your local school board on record. We have about 13 or 14 state school boards associations who have said that the NSBA does not speak for them, and they were not asked for their input as regards this letter to the Biden administration. So it's good that they're on record, and now it's time to get the local school boards on record as well.
Now, where does the funding come from for the National School Boards Association?
Individual states pay dues to the School Boards Association, and they charge certain fees for programs that they put on, but they fundraise as well from private sources like the Gates Foundation. There are lots of big pharma donations, and insurance companies, health insurance companies donate to the National School Boards Association, which it's a really good and instructive example of the sorts of pressures that are on public schools and the big market that they represent to certain people in society who want to medicalize childhood in order to make money. And this is just one example of many, many pressures, outside pressures, progressive ideological pressures that are put on public schools, that it's really incumbent upon parents with a Christian worldview or who simply disagree with that agenda to state the alternative view. Because if our voices are not heard, then those pressures will win the day.
So that's actually another step that could be taken, since these are funded through the membership dues of school boards, is that if a local school board is a member of this, is basically rescinding their membership and ceasing to pay dues to an organization that sees parents as domestic terrorists.
Absolutely. Don't go to the annual conference. Don't utilize the library of resources they have on their website. Find another source for that information. Don't participate in the program that they're putting forward. That's absolutely a wonderful course of action to take.
Yeah, because we clearly know where the organization stands on parents and politically, quite frankly. Very quickly, Meg, aside from the letter, what else can concerned citizens do?
Well, again, I'm like a broken record on this. Attend your school board meetings. Go to school board meetings. You don't have to speak. Your mere presence in the room and your silent prayers on behalf of that body will make a tremendous difference in how the business of the board is conducted. And if those prayers that you pray at the school board meeting lead you to believe that you should run for school board, we highly encourage you to run for school board. We need good people to serve on school boards. There are plenty of good people there now, and we need more good people who will partner with parents and who will take our concerns seriously and make our schools into the very best schools in the world. We live in the greatest nation in the world, and there is no reason that our school system can't reflect that, other than we need to do a better job of taking our schools in hand and turning them into the wonderful organizations that they can be.
And for those that feel prompted to do so, we have resources available as well to help them in that process of running for the school board. Meg Kilgannon, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Always great to have you on the program.
Thank you, Tony.